The signal came from the third planet of a yellow star system, deep in the outer spiral arm of the galaxy. Ambassador Keth of the Draxi Empire stood before the massive viewing screen aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony's Edge, watching the blue and green world rotate slowly below them. For 300 years, the Galactic Council had been receiving radio transmissions from this world, but only now had they developed the technology to respond. "The preliminary scans are complete, Ambassador," reported Science Officer Vel, her crystalline form shimmering with nervous energy. "The dominant species appears to be bipedal mammals, approximately 2 meters in height. They have established colonies on several worlds in their system and possess basic faster-than-light communication." Keth nodded, his elongated neck swaying gently. The Draxi had been chosen to lead this first contact mission because of their diplomatic success with over 40 species. They understood the delicate process of integrating new civilizations into the galactic community. Most species followed the same pattern: herbivorous or gentle omnivores who had evolved from prey animals, developed agriculture, then technology, and finally achieved spaceflight through cooperation and trade. "Any signs of aggression in their transmissions?" Keth asked, though he expected the standard answer. In 3,000 years of galactic civilization, only 2 species had shown any aggressive tendencies, and both had been small carnivores that barely qualified as sentient. Vel's response made the entire bridge crew freeze. "Ambassador, I believe. You should review the biological data personally. There are some unusual characteristics." The holographic display materialized in the center of the bridge, showing a 3-dimensional model of the species they were about to contact. Keth studied the rotating figure with growing unease. The creature stood upright on 2 legs, but its proportions were wrong. The torso was too broad, the limbs too muscular. But most disturbing of all were the eyes. "Forward-facing eyes," whispered Navigation Officer Wren, his voice barely audible. "Both eyes point in the same direction." Every member of the bridge crew instinctively stepped back from the hologram. In the known galaxy, only one type of creature had forward-facing eyes: predators. But predators were small, simple creatures that hunted insects or tiny prey. They never developed intelligence, never built cities, never reached for the stars. "Show me the dental structure," Keth commanded, though he dreaded what he might see. The hologram zoomed in on the creature's mouth. 4 sharp, pointed teeth dominated. The front of the jaw, canines, teeth designed for tearing flesh. Behind them, flat molars suggested the creature could process plant matter as well, but those front teeth told a different story. "Omnivore," Vel reported, her voice shaking. "But the dental structure suggests a strong carnivorous component." "Ambassador, these creatures are persistence predators." The bridge fell silent. Persistence predators were the stuff of evolutionary nightmares. Unlike ambush predators that struck quickly and either succeeded or failed, persistence predators never stopped hunting. They tracked their prey across vast distances, following for days or even weeks until the prey animal collapsed from exhaustion. It was the most terrifying hunting method in nature. "That's impossible," Keth said, though his voice lacked conviction. "Predators don't develop intelligence. They don't need to. They just hunt and eat." "The scans don't lie, Ambassador," Vel replied. "These creatures have built cities, developed technology, and achieved spaceflight. They are intelligent persistence predators." The implications were staggering. Every species in the galaxy had evolved from prey animals. Their instincts, their social structures, their entire way of thinking was based on avoiding predators, not being them. The Draxi had survived by being faster than their hunters. The Queth had developed crystalline shells that were too hard to break. The Vioran had evolved in swarms too, large for predators to affect significantly. But what instincts would guide a species that had never been prey? What would they want? What would they do when they encountered other species? Incoming transmission. From the planet's surface, Communications Officer Tar announced, "They're responding to our standard greeting." "Put it through," Keth ordered, straightening his formal robes. Despite his fear, diplomatic protocol required him to proceed with first contact. The view screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at one of the creatures. It was even more intimidating in person than the hologram had suggested. The being wore some kind of uniform and sat in what appeared to be a command center. Its forward-facing eyes locked onto the camera with an intensity that made Keth's prey instincts scream warnings. "This is Captain Torres of the human colony ship Endeavor," the creature said in a voice that carried surprising authority. "We've been monitoring your approach for the past 6 hours. What are your intentions in our system?" Keth tried to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. The creature had been watching them, tracking them, like a predator studying potential. "Pray, we come in peace," Keth finally managed. "I am Ambassador Keth of the Draxi Empire, representing the Galactic Council. We have come to welcome your species to the greater galactic community." The creature's lips pulled back slightly, revealing those terrifying canine teeth. Keth realized with horror that the expression was meant to be friendly, but to his prey animal instincts it looked like a predator preparing to strike. "That's good to hear," Captain Torres replied. "We have many questions about the galaxy and its inhabitants. But first, I need to know about potential threats. Are there any hostile species we should be aware of? Any territorial disputes or ongoing conflicts?" The question sent chills through the bridge crew. The creature's first concern wasn't trade or cultural exchange or peaceful cooperation. It was identifying threats and preparing for conflict. This was exactly how a predator would think. "There are no conflicts," Keth said carefully. "The galaxy has been at peace for over 1,000 years. All species work together through trade and cooperation." Captain Torres looked puzzled. "No conflicts at all? That seems unlikely. What about resource disputes? Border tensions? Ideological differences?" "We resolve all disputes through negotiation and compromise," Keth explained. "Violence is not necessary when all parties can benefit from cooperation." The creature's expression became even more confused. "I see. Well, I suppose that's good news. When can we arrange a formal meeting?" "We have a delegation prepared to discuss integration protocols. We will arrange a meeting at the neutral station in the Kepler system," Keth replied. "It will take 3 days to reach the location." "Understood. We'll see you there." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Finally, Vel spoke up. "Ambassador, should we contact the Council? They need to know what we're dealing with." Keth considered this. They had just made first contact with a species of intelligent predators. Creatures that thought first about threats and conflicts, that tracked their prey across vast distances, that never gave up once they had chosen a target. "Send a priority message to the Council," he decided. "Tell them we have encountered something unprecedented, and recommend that they prepare for any possibility." As the Harmony's Edge set course for the Kepler system, Keth couldn't shake the feeling that they had just awakened something that had been sleeping in the outer spiral arm. Something that the galaxy was completely unprepared to face. The humans were coming, and nobody knew what they would do when they arrived. The Kepler station had been designed as a neutral meeting ground for diplomatic encounters, but it had never hosted anything like this. Commander Rivers stood in the central conference room, watching as representatives from 4 different species took their positions around the circular table. Each delegate maintained maximum distance from the human contingent, and Rivers could see the tension in their body language. "This is quite an honor," Rivers said, attempting to break the ice. "Humanity has dreamed of this moment for centuries. The chance to meet other intelligent species and learn about the galaxy." Ambassador Keth of the Draxi shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His large eyes never left Rivers, tracking every movement with the intensity of a prey animal watching a predator. "Yes, well, we are equally interested in learning about your species. Perhaps you could tell us about your world and your history." Rivers smiled, and he noticed how the entire alien delegation tensed at the expression. He made a mental note to avoid showing his teeth in the future. "Earth is a beautiful world, but it's also a challenging one. Our species had to develop certain traits to survive." "What kind of traits?" asked Prime Resonance Tal, the Queth representative. Her crystalline form chimed softly with each word, but Rivers detected an underlying note of fear in the harmonic Patterns, persistence mainly, Rivers replied. Humans are endurance hunters. We don't have claws or fangs or natural weapons, so we had to develop other abilities. We can track prey across vast distances and hunt for days without rest. The conference room fell silent. The VRON delegate, an insectoid creature called Collective Voice 9, made a clicking sound that Rivers would later learn was an expression of pure terror. You hunt for days without rest? Keth asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Oh yes, Rivers continued, warming to the topic. Some of our greatest heroes are people who pushed beyond normal limits. There was a human named Phillips who ran for 26 miles without stopping to deliver a message. And our explorer Davis walked to the South Pole, one of the most hostile environments on our planet, just to prove it could be done. 26 miles without stopping, repeated the Millis delegate, her aquatic features rippling with distress. That's impossible. Actually, that's just the beginning, Rivers said proudly. Modern humans routinely run marathons of that distance. For recreation. Some of our athletes can run over 100 miles in a single session. We have events where humans run across entire continents. The alien delegates exchanged horrified glances. To prey animals, the concept of a predator that could pursue them for hundreds of miles was the ultimate nightmare. But surely you only do this for hunting, Keth said desperately. For survival. Rivers shook his head. We do it for fun. Humans love challenges. We climb mountains just because they're there. We explore the deepest oceans and the most hostile environments on our planet. When we run out of frontiers on Earth, we built ships and went to other worlds. You seek out dangerous environments? Prime resonance Tall's harmonic frequencies were becoming increasingly agitated. On purpose? Absolutely. The more dangerous, the better. We have people who dive into active volcanoes, who explore underwater caves, who deliberately put themselves in situations where most creatures would die. We call it adventure. Dr. Walsh, the human xenobiologist, decided to join the conversation. What Commander Rivers is describing is humanity's natural curiosity and adaptability. We're omnivores so we can survive on almost any food source. We've learned to eat everything from plants to meat to things that would be toxic to most species. You eat meat? Collective Voice 9's clicking became rapid and panicked. Of course, Walsh replied. About 30% of our diet comes from animal protein. We've domesticated numerous species for food production. Cows, pigs, chickens, fish. We process their meat in hundreds of different ways. The VRN delegate made a sound that the translation system couldn't interpret, but Rivers recognized it as distress. You domesticate other species for food? We domesticate them for many purposes, Walsh explained. Some for food, some for labor, some for companionship. Dogs, for instance, are descended from wolves. We took a predator species and bred them to work with us. They help us hunt, guard our homes, and provide emotional support. You allied with other predators? Keth's voice was now openly fearful. Dogs are actually pack hunters, just like humans, Rivers added helpfully. We work together because we understand each other's hunting instincts. A human and a dog can track prey that neither could catch alone. The conference room's environmental system suddenly activated, flooding the space with a low-frequency harmonic that made Rivers' teeth ache. Prime Resonance Tal had begun broadcasting what he would later learn was a distress signal that meant immediate danger. I'm sorry, Rivers said, standing up. Are you all right? The movement caused all 4 alien delegates to recoil. In their minds, the predator was preparing to strike. Perhaps we should take a break, Keth suggested, his voice shaking. This is a lot of information to process. Of course, Rivers agreed. But before we adjourn, I should mention that we've prepared some cultural materials to share. Historical records, literature, entertainment media. We thought you might be interested. In our survival stories? Survival stories? The Melos delegate asked weakly. Yes, tales of humans who overcame impossible odds. Like the story of Captain Lewis, who survived for 30 days in the ocean after his ship sank. Or the account of the Walker family, who were trapped in the mountains during winter and ate their deceased companions to survive. The reaction was immediate. Collective Voice 9 made a sound like breaking glass. The Melos delegate began secreting what appeared to be defensive chemicals. Prime Resonance Tall's harmonic frequencies reached a pitch that triggered the station's emergency protocols. "You eat your own kind?" Keth whispered. "Only in extreme survival situations," Rivers said quickly. "It's not common, but humans will do anything to survive. We never give up, never accept defeat. That's just our nature." The alien delegates were now openly panicking. To them, Rivers had just described a species of persistence predators that allied with other predators, could track prey for hundreds of miles, could survive on any food source including their own kind, and actively sought out dangerous situations for entertainment. "I think we should definitely take that break," Keth said, backing toward the exit. "We need to consult with our respective governments about these revelations." As the alien delegates fled the conference room, Rivers turned to Dr. Walsh with a confused expression. "I don't understand. Did we say something wrong?" "I don't think so," Walsh replied. "We just told them about human nature. Maybe they're overwhelmed by how different we are from them." Neither human realized that they had just convinced 4 species that humanity was the most dangerous predator in the galaxy. The aliens' emergency transmissions were already racing across the galactic communication network, carrying news of the terrifying hunters from the outer spiral arm. Within hours, the message would reach the Galactic Council, and the entire galaxy would learn about the species that hunted for days without rest, ate anything including their own kind, and actively sought out danger for pleasure. The humans had intended to make friends, but instead they had declared themselves the ultimate predators in a galaxy full of prey. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened just 18 hours after the first contact reports arrived. Representatives from 12 major species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall on Central Prime, their voices creating a cacophony of fear and confusion. Chancellor Vex of the Nim Republic called for order, but her normally calm demeanor was shattered by the reports she had received. "The situation is unprecedented," she announced to the assembled delegates. "We have confirmed first contact with a species of intelligent persistence predators. The implications are staggering." In the observation gallery, Fleet Admiral Park of the human deep space vessel Prometheus watched the proceedings with growing concern. He had arrived at Central Prime for what was supposed to be a routine diplomatic mission, but now he found himself witnessing something that looked suspiciously like a war council. "The biological data is clear," continued Dr. Nex, the Draxi scientist who had analyzed the human specimens. "These creatures evolved from pack hunters. They possess forward-facing eyes, pronounced canine teeth, and most terrifying of all, the ability to pursue prey for hundreds of miles without rest. They call this behavior marathon running, and they do it for entertainment." A wave of horrified gasps swept through the assembly. The Queth delegate, Prime Resonance Vel, began broadcasting fear harmonics that made the entire hall vibrate with anxiety. "Furthermore," Dr. Nex continued, "they have allied themselves with other predator species. They have domesticated creatures called dogs, which are descended from pack hunters. They use these allies to enhance their hunting capabilities." Admiral Park leaned forward in his seat. The aliens were talking about pet dogs as if they were weapons of war. This was clearly a massive misunderstanding, but he wasn't sure how to correct it without making things worse. "What do they want?" asked the Vivaran representative, Collective Voice Prime. "Have they made any territorial demands?" "That's the most disturbing part," replied Ambassador Keth. "They haven't made any demands at all. They claim to be interested in learning about the galaxy and making friends, but their first questions were about threats and conflicts. They think like predators, always assessing potential prey. We must assume they are scouting for weakness," declared General Tor of the Melos Defense Force. "This is classic predator behavior. They study their prey before striking." Admiral Park could no longer remain silent. He stood up in the gallery, drawing the attention of the entire assembly. "Excuse me, but I think there's been a misunderstanding." The reaction was immediate and terrifying. Every alien in the hall turned to look at him, and their fear was palpable. Several delegates began backing away from the gallery, while others activated what appeared to be personal shields. "You're one of them," whispered Chancellor Vex, her voice barely audible. "A human." "Yes, I'm Admiral Park of the Human Deep Space Fleet," he replied, trying to keep his voice calm and non-threatening. "I came here to establish diplomatic relations, but I can see that our earlier contact has been misinterpreted." "Misinterpreted?" Dr. Nex's voice was shrill with fear. "You told our delegates that humans hunt for days without rest, that you eat your own kind, that you actively seek out dangerous situations for pleasure." "We do run marathons, but that's not hunting," Park explained. "We're athletes, not predators, and we only resort to cannibalism in extreme survival situations. It's not our normal diet." His words had the opposite effect he intended. The mention of cannibalism caused several delegates to flee the hall entirely. "What do you want from us?" Chancellor Vex asked, her voice trembling. "Why have you come to our galaxy?" "We want to learn," Park replied honestly. "We want to trade, to share knowledge, to explore the galaxy together. We're not here to hunt anyone." "But you are hunters," insisted Ambassador Keth. "Your species evolved as persistence predators. You can't change what you are." Park realized that he was facing a fundamental misunderstanding about human nature. To these species, evolution was destiny. They couldn't conceive of a predator that didn't hunt, just as they couldn't imagine a prey animal that became aggressive. "We don't hunt intelligent species," he said carefully. "We hunt animals for food." "Yes, but we don't hunt people. We have laws against that." "Laws?" General Tor sounded incredulous. "You need laws to prevent you from hunting?" "Well, yes," Park admitted. "Humans have aggressive instincts, but we control them through social structures and legal systems. We're not mindless predators." This revelation was somehow even more terrifying to the alien delegates. A mindless predator was predictable, but an intelligent predator with controlled aggression was something entirely different. "You're saying you could hunt us, but you choose not to?" Chancellor Vex asked. "I suppose that's one way to put it." Park replied, not realizing how his words sounded to prey animals. "But we would never choose to hunt intelligent beings. We're civilized." The word civilized carried different connotations for a predator species than for prey animals. To the aliens, it suggested a predator that had learned to be more efficient, more strategic, more dangerous. "What happens if we refuse to cooperate?" asked the Queth delegate. "What if we don't want humans in our galaxy?" Park's expression hardened slightly. "That would be unfortunate. Humans don't like being told they can't go somewhere. We're explorers by nature. We've spent our entire history pushing into new frontiers, and we don't plan to stop now." The threat was unintentional, but to the alien delegates it sounded like a predator marking its territory. The human was telling them that resistance was futile, that humans would take what they wanted regardless of opposition. "We need to defend ourselves," General Tor announced. "If these creatures are as dangerous as they appear, we cannot allow them to spread throughout the galaxy." "Agreed," said Chancellor Vex. "I propose we form a defense alliance, pool our resources, and prepare for the inevitable conflict." Admiral Park watched in horror as the Galactic Council voted to prepare for war against humanity. He had come to make friends, but his very presence had convinced them that humans were an existential threat. "Please," he said, standing up again. "There doesn't need to be a conflict. We can work together." But his words were lost in the commotion as delegates began discussing military preparations. The Nim Republic, which had been peaceful for 10,000 years, authorized the construction of their first battle fleet. The Queth Empire began converting their mining lasers into weapons. The Viren Collective started breeding warrior drones for the first time in their history. As Admiral Park left the assembly hall, he realized that humanity's reputation as the ultimate predator was now spreading throughout the galaxy. Within days, every species would know about the terrifying hunters from the outer spiral arm. Trade routes would be rerouted to avoid human space. Colonies would be evacuated. The entire galaxy would prepare for war, and the humans, still believing they were making peaceful contact, would have no idea what was coming until it was too late. The misunderstanding had become a self-fulfilling prophecy. The galaxy believed humans were predators, so they were preparing to fight. And when they attacked, the humans would be forced to defend themselves, proving that they were exactly as dangerous as the aliens feared. The hunt was about to begin, and nobody knew who would be the prey. The massive armada assembled at the edge of the Kepler system was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 3,000 ships from 12 different species formed a wall of steel and energy that stretched across millions of kilometers of space. Fleet Commander Nex of the Draxi Empire stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Peace, watching the tactical displays with grim satisfaction. "All fleets report ready for engagement," announced his tactical officer. "The Queth battle crystals are charged, the Viarn attack swarms are deployed, and the Melos deep strike units are in position." "Excellent," Nex replied, though his voice carried no joy. "Today we end the threat of the human predators before they can spread their influence throughout the galaxy." The plan was simple in concept but massive in scope. The combined fleet would surround the Sol system and demand humanity's surrender. If the humans refused, the fleet would systematically destroy every human settlement, ship, and installation. It was a terrible necessity, but the galaxy's survival depended on stopping these persistent predators before they could establish a foothold among the stars. Deep in the Sol system, Captain Stone of the human battleship Defiance watched the approaching alien fleet with growing alarm. The defensive platforms around Earth were powerful, but they were designed to deal with pirates and small raiders, not an armada of 3,000 ships. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the lead alien vessel," reported Communications Officer Lee. "They're demanding our immediate surrender." "Put it through," Stone ordered. Fleet Commander Nex appeared on the main screen, his elongated features twisted with what humans would recognize as fear, but which looked like rage to the alien commander. "Humans of the Sol system, you are surrounded by the combined fleets of the Galactic Defense Coalition. You will surrender immediately and submit to containment protocols." "Containment protocols?" Stone asked. "What are you talking about? We're not at war with anyone." "You are predators," Nex replied. "Your very existence is a threat to every peaceful species in the galaxy. We cannot allow you to spread." Stone felt a cold anger building in his chest. "You're here to exterminate us because of what we are, not what we've done." "You have done nothing yet because you have not had the opportunity," Nex said. "But we know your nature. You hunt for days without rest. You eat your own kind. You ally with other predators. You actively seek out conflict and danger. We also build cities, create art, and explore the universe," Stone replied. "We're not monsters." "You are persistence predators," Nex said with finality. "You will never stop hunting until all prey is consumed. We will not allow that to happen." The transmission ended, leaving Stone to contemplate the impossible situation. The alien fleet outnumbered the human defenders 50-1, but surrender meant the extinction of his species. Every human instinct rebelled against that option. "All ships, this is Captain Stone," he announced on the fleet frequency. "We are facing overwhelming odds, but we will not surrender. We will not allow our species to be exterminated for the crime of existing." The battle began with a coordinated assault by the alien fleet. Thousands of energy beams and projectiles converged on the human defensive positions, overwhelming shields and armor through sheer volume of fire. The orbital platforms around Earth began exploding in brilliant fireballs, but the humans didn't break. Instead, they adapted. Captain Stone led his small fleet in a fighting withdrawal, using the asteroid belt as cover while his ships picked off isolated alien vessels. The human ships were faster and more maneuverable than their alien counterparts, designed by a species that understood pursuit and evasion. "Sir, the aliens are pulling back," reported Tactical Officer Kim. "They're trying to maintain formation." "That's their mistake," Stone replied. "They're thinking like prey animals. They want to stay together for safety." The human fleet split into smaller groups, each one attacking a different section of the alien formation. The aliens, bred from prey species, instinctively clustered together when threatened. This made them easier targets for the human ships, which attacked like a pack of wolves separating a herd. Fleet. Commander Nex watched in horror as his carefully planned assault began to fall apart. The humans weren't fighting like any species he had ever encountered. They pursued damaged ships across multiple star systems, hunting them down with relentless determination. They coordinated attacks across vast distances, communicating in ways that allowed them to strike simultaneously from multiple directions. "They're not retreating," his tactical officer reported. "They're hunting us." "That's impossible," Nex replied. "We outnumber them 50 to 1. The numbers don't seem to matter to them. They're targeting our damaged ships, pursuing them even when it leaves their own forces vulnerable." Nex realized with growing dread that he was witnessing something no prey animal could truly understand, a coordinated pack hunt on a stellar scale. The humans weren't trying to win through superior numbers or firepower. They were wearing down the alien fleet through persistence and determination. The most terrifying moment came when the human battleship Defiance took a direct hit from a Queth crystal cannon. The ship's hull was breached, its life support systems failed, and half the crew was killed instantly. By every logical calculation, the ship should have surrendered or retreated. Instead, Captain Stone ordered his surviving crew to continue fighting in emergency suits. For 18 hours, the Defiance limped through space, its crew manually operating weapon systems in the vacuum of space. They pursued and destroyed 3 alien vessels during that time, refusing to stop fighting even when their ship was clearly doomed. "This is madness," whispered the Varen commander, Collective Voice 7. "They're fighting without life support." "They should be dead?" "They're not dead because they refuse to die," Nex replied, his voice hollow with fear. "They're persistence. Predators, they don't know when to stop." The alien fleet began to crack under the psychological pressure. They had come to fight a conventional war, but the humans were fighting like predators who had cornered their prey. Every alien ship that took damage became a target for relentless pursuit. The humans followed them across star systems, hunting them down with mechanical precision. "Sir, we're losing ships faster than we can replace them," reported the tactical officer. "The humans are adapting to our tactics faster than we can adapt to theirs." "How many ships have we lost?" Nex asked. 800 and still climbing. "The humans have lost maybe 50 ships, but they're still fighting with the same intensity as when the battle started." Nex realized that he was facing something unprecedented in galactic history, a species that became more dangerous as the odds against them increased. The humans weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting with the instincts of apex predators, who had never learned to surrender. The turning point came when a squadron of human fighters somehow managed to penetrate the alien fleet's formation and target the flagship itself. The Eternal Peace shuddered under the assault, its shields failing as the small human ships swarmed around it like angry insects. "Sir, hull breach on Deck 7, reported the damage control officer. "We're losing atmosphere." "Return fire," Nex ordered. "Destroy those fighters. We can't get a target lock. They're too fast and too close." Nex watched in fascination and terror as the human fighters continued their attack, even as his ship's defensive systems began to respond. One fighter was destroyed, then another, but the remaining pilots didn't retreat. They pressed their attack with suicidal determination. "Sir, incoming transmission from the human fleet," the communications officer announced. "Put it through," Nex ordered. Captain Stone appeared on the screen, his face streaked with blood from a head wound, his uniform torn and burned. Behind him, the bridge of the Defiance was a scene of controlled chaos as his crew fought to keep their dying ship operational. "Fleet Commander Nex," Stone said, his voice calm despite the circumstances. "You came here to exterminate us because you believe we're monsters. You're proving that you're the monsters." "We're defending the galaxy from predators," Nex replied. "Weakly, you're committing genocide," Stone corrected. "But you've made one fatal error. You've shown us that the galaxy is full of prey animals who attack what they don't understand. You've proved that we need to be predators to survive." The transmission ended, leaving Nex to contemplate the horrible truth the galaxy had created, the very threat they had tried to prevent. They had turned humans into the monsters they feared. "Sir, recommend we withdraw," the tactical officer said quietly. "We can't win this fight." For the first time in galactic history, a massive fleet retreated from a smaller force. The humans had won not through superior numbers or technology, but through something the aliens couldn't understand: the refusal to accept defeat. As the battered alien fleet limped away from the Sol system, Fleet Commander Nex realized that the galaxy had just learned a terrible lesson. They had met the ultimate predator, and they had taught it to hunt them. The ceasefire negotiations took place aboard the neutral station Harmony Point. 3 months after the retreat of the Galactic Defense Coalition, Dr. Reed, Earth's leading xenopsychologist, sat across from the assembled alien delegates, studying their body language with the trained eye of someone who had spent her career understanding non-human intelligence. "The war is over," she announced simply. "But the question remains, what comes next?" Fleet Commander Nex of the Draxi Empire looked exhausted. His species had lost 400 ships in the failed assault on the Sol system, and the psychological trauma of facing human persistence hunting tactics had shattered his fleet's morale. "What do you want from us?" he asked quietly. "The same thing we wanted from the beginning," Dr. Reed replied. "To be part of the galactic community, to trade, to learn, to explore together." "But you're predators," whispered Prime Resonance Tal, the Queth delegate. "You can't change what you are." Dr. Reed nodded thoughtfully. "You're right. We are predators. But you've misunderstood what that means." She activated a holographic display showing the evolutionary tree of Earth's species. Every species on Earth evolved in response to predation pressure. The prey animals became faster, more alert, better at hiding. The predators became more efficient, more intelligent, more determined. "That's exactly what we fear," said Collective Voice 9, the Varan representative. "You became more intelligent because you needed to hunt more effectively." "No," Dr. Reed corrected gently. "We became more intelligent because we needed to work together. Humans are pack hunters, but we're also social creatures. We developed language, art, culture, and technology not to hunt better, but to cooperate better." She changed the display to show human settlements throughout history. "Look at our cities. We don't build them to trap prey. We build them to protect our families, our children, our elders. We don't hunt our own species because we're programmed to protect our pack." "But you attacked us when we threatened you," General Tor of the Melas pointed out. "Yes, we defended ourselves when you tried to exterminate us," Dr. Reed agreed. "But notice what we didn't do. We didn't pursue your retreating fleets. We didn't attack your homeworlds. We didn't hunt down your civilians. We stopped fighting the moment you stopped threatening us." The alien delegates considered this. They had expected the humans to press their advantage, to hunt down the survivors of the coalition fleet. Instead, the humans had immediately called for peace negotiations. "You're saying that humans are protective predators?" asked Ambassador Keth. "All successful predators are protective," Dr. Reed explained. "We have to be, or our young wouldn't survive. The same instincts that make us dangerous to threats make us protective of anything we consider part of our pack." "But how can we trust you?" Prime Resonance Tal asked. "How do we know you won't hunt us?" Dr. Reed smiled, remembering to keep her teeth hidden. "Because you're not threats to our pack. You're potential members of it." The concept was revolutionary to the alien delegates. They had always thought of themselves as different species, separate entities that competed for resources. The idea that a predator might adopt prey animals into its pack was beyond their understanding. What would that mean in practical terms? Fleet Commander Nex asked. "It means that if something threatens you, it threatens us," Dr. Reed replied. "Humans don't just hunt threats. We hunt threats to our pack. If you're part of our pack, we'll protect you with the same determination that you've seen us use in battle." To prove her point, Dr. Reed activated another display showing recent reports from the Galactic Rim. 3 days ago, we received a distress signal from the outer colonies. An automated mining platform had gone rogue and was attacking civilian transports. The local authorities couldn't stop it. She showed footage of human ships engaging the rogue platform. Captain Torres of the Endeavour received the distress call and responded immediately. He didn't ask what species was threatened. He didn't demand payment. He saw a threat to innocent beings and he acted. The alien delegates watched in fascination as human ships systematically dismantled the rogue platform, pursuing it through an asteroid field with the same relentless determination they had shown during the war. But this time they were protecting, instead of attacking. The mining platform was designed to be unstoppable, Dr. Reed continued. It had multiple redundant systems, self-repair capabilities, and enough armor to withstand conventional weapons. But humans don't think conventionally. We think like predators. The footage showed human engineers analyzing the platform's weaknesses, then exploiting them with surgical precision. They didn't try to overpower it. They hunted it, wearing it down through persistence and cunning until it finally shut down. You saved those ships, Collective Voice 9 observed. We saved our pack, Dr. Reed corrected. Because that's what predators do. We protect what belongs to us. The negotiations continued for days, but the fundamental shift had occurred. The alien delegates began to understand that humans weren't monsters seeking to devour the galaxy. They were apex predators looking for a pack to protect. There's something else you need to understand, Dr. Reed said during the final session. The galaxy isn't as peaceful as you think it is. She displayed a star chart showing the galactic rim. Your species evolved in the inner spiral arms where life is abundant and resources are plentiful. But there are things in the outer darkness that your prey animal instincts can't comprehend. The chart highlighted several danger zones where automated weapons platforms, rogue AI systems, and worse things drifted in the spaces between stars. The eternal swarm in the Magellanic Clouds, Dr. Reed continued. The ghost ships of the void. The screaming machines of the dead zone. These are things that prey animals hide from, but predators hunt. You're saying we need you, Admiral Park observed, entering the conversation for the first time. You need protectors. We're saying the galaxy needs balance, Dr. Reed replied. Prey animals create civilization, art, culture, and beauty. Predators protect those things from the darkness. Separately, we're incomplete. Together, we're unstoppable. The final agreement was signed 6 months later. The Terran Protectorate was established as a special military force within the galactic community, tasked with hunting down threats that conventional forces couldn't handle. Human ships began patrolling the outer rim, while alien species provided the infrastructure and resources needed for deep space operations. Captain Torres, now promoted to Admiral, stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel New Horizon as it prepared to investigate a mysterious signal from the galactic edge. His crew was a mix of species, human tactical officers, Draxi navigators, Queth engineers, and Varan communications specialists. Sir, we're receiving telemetry from the probe, reported Lieutenant Reed, the Admiral's niece and the ship's xenobiology. Officer, the signal is definitely artificial, but it's not from any known species. Could be another rogue AI, suggested Chief Engineer Martinez, a human who had learned to work with Queth crystal technology. Or something worse. Then we do what we always do, Torres replied. We hunt it down. The mixed crew worked with practiced efficiency. The alien crew members had learned to appreciate human determination and persistence, while the humans had discovered the value of their allies' unique abilities. Draxi intuition, Queth analytical skills, and Varan collective processing power combined with human tactical thinking to create something greater than the sum of its parts. Contact in 30 minutes, announced the Draxi navigator. Whatever it is. It's big? Torres smiled, though he kept his teeth hidden out of habit. Then we'll need to be bigger. As the New Horizon approached the unknown threat, Torres began composing the report that would become part of galactic history. He wrote, Personal Log, Admiral Torres, Terran Protectorate Vessel New Horizon. Today we learned that the galaxy is not divided between predators and prey. It's divided between those who create and those who destroy. We are the guardians of creation, the hunters of destruction. We are predators, yes, but we hunt the darkness that threatens the light. And we will never stop hunting it. The ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of known space, where ancient horrors waited in the dark. But they were no longer facing helpless prey animals. They were facing the ultimate predator, backed by the combined resources of an entire galaxy. The hunt for the galaxy's real enemies had begun, and nothing would escape the persistence of humanity's protective instincts. The galaxy had found its guardians, and the guardians had found their purpose. In the depths of space, something vast and malevolent detected the approaching ship and began to stir. It had been waiting for millions of years for new prey to venture into its domain. But for the first time in galactic history, the prey had brought predators with them. The hunt was about to begin.